And good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Wednesday to you. Super excited to be here. Welcome to another episode of Money Matters. My name is Nev. Today is Wednesday, December 16th. Holy mackerel, y'all. We have about 15 days left. So just a little bit over 2 weeks before 2021 rolls around. But of course, what is that going to bring? Well, nobody knows. I personally am excited to say goodbye to 2020 and all of the insanity that has happened. Although I am grateful for some of the things I could have definitely lived without. Today, we have a very special episode, a very important episode that you should absolutely be watching and listening today. Speaking of watching and listening, I do want to welcome everybody who is watching this live right now, super early in the morning. And I also want to welcome everybody who is watching the replay or listening to this as a podcast version on one of the service providers. If you are brand new and you're liking this stuff, hey, don't forget to subscribe, hit some sort of like or write a nice review or tell friends about it. And if there's notification, hey, hit it and put it on to save and all. But today is a very, very, very special episode because we're going to be talking about some of the scams that are rolling out and you absolutely must know about. So, super exciting news. Bitcoin is on the move on up. We did have a beautiful pre-Christmas sale. Black Friday sale has extended for a little while longer. And of course, it's extending now even further. But we are having some very important news and very important moves. And we're going to be taking a look into that kind of stuff. We're going to be taking a look into the chart. I will explain some of the things that we're seeing. We're going to look at some of the news. But with the price actually going on up and going on up in a significant way, there's going to be even more scams coming in. And scamsters are getting even more smart over the time. So we got to get on our education and learning. And this scam is going to involve ways that they're actually going to be manipulating your particular MetaMask within your computer, right? So number one. Number two, it has to do with Ledger and maybe Trezor as well. So those are the cold wallet storage items that everybody loves and trusts, and you absolutely must know about them. So there we go. That's what we're going to be talking about. So stay tuned in for that. Let's do this. All right, y'all. Well, good morning, and let's go and take a look at what's going on with the market. Let's refresh, see where we are. Woo, it's looking even better. Every time I refresh, that puppy keeps on going up. Maybe I should keep on refreshing it. Maybe that's what's going to get us to 20,000. Probably not. Probably not. But do I still think 20,000 is possible in December of 2020? Absolutely. Hey, absolutely, because this puppy is on the move. Look at Bitcoin actually sitting pretty now at $19,853.08. Thank you very much. Up 3.1% over the 24 hours and up 8.2% in 7 days. Ethereum is also up slightly less than Bitcoin, but of course, Ethereum tends to kind of move a little bit slower and then sort of surpass it. So, very interesting moves. Ethereum is currently at $596.84, up 1.8% over the 24-hour period and up 7.7% over 7 days. XRP is, well, down, and you know exactly how I feel about it. I talked about it yesterday, so I'm not going to waste my time or Brett or your time for that matter. If we scroll up and down the whole thing, Link seems to be one of the few coins that is slightly down. ADA is slightly down, BNB and XLM slightly down. But overall, when we kind of scroll down over the top 100, there are some coins that are kind of down. Ooh, Aave is down 6.8%. That's suspicious. That we didn't expect that, but of course, things are going to move on up and down. Overall, the market does appear to be on the green predominantly. On the biggest gainers, Yuma is up 28.5% in 24-hour period. BNT 22% up, Swissborg CHSB 16.1%, ZIL 11.4%, Nexo 11.0%, and I do have some information about Nexo. When we talk about scams, you definitely want to stay around for that one because it does involve them. Now, before you go out there and start saying, I'm going to sell my coin, no, It's a very different kind of scam, and you'll learn about it. It's a very interesting and unique scam. So, as you can see, there's many gainers that are happening and doing quite well. On the losing end of things, nothing huge on the losing end. SNX is the biggest loser, so to speak, at 7.3% down. Aave is in the second position, negative 6.8% down. STX 6% down. ICX 4.9. So XRP 4.6. So nothing like too huge, but of course we do have some things that are slightly down. And one thing that is actually absolutely beautiful to point out and note, because I've been complaining about CoinGecko, they actually have fixed their sorting feature with their JavaScript. So thank you very much, CoinGecko. Nev no longer has to worry about whether, I am reading this correctly or not. All right, it's time to talk about a really giant scam before we go into some exciting news, and it has to do with Ledger. Now, Ledger, as you likely know, is basically, well, you can see the photo of it right over here, but it's basically, for those of you that are not watching but listen, it looks like a thumb drive, right? It looks like your USB drive where you would save your PowerPoint presentation that you would go and present to everybody. That was in the yesteryear, right? But we still, we still have those things. Well, it looks very much like that, except it has a little bit of, some buttons and stuff, and you put in, enter your security phrase, or known as a security seed, and it's a cold wallet because it's not always connected to the internet, right? So it's a very safe sort of, or it's perceived as very safe. However, there are, I don't know if you knew this or not, but this particular cryptocurrency hardware wallet Ledger was hacked last June, and over 1 million emails were exposed. So they were hacked in June of 2019. Here is one of the interesting pieces. Months later, the hackers who have obtained the Ledger data are emailing clients, sending text to customers, and creating phishing links for users to enter their seeds. You gotta absolutely know this. The key piece also that I want to point out right now for everybody who's watching and listening to this is that not only have they actually stolen it, I believe that they actually might still have access to the database as we speak. The reason I am saying that, or might have rehacked it again and Ledger is just not talking about it, so it's very hard for me to continue to recommend Ledger to anybody. And the reason is that I actually haven't purchased Ledger in 2019. I actually haven't purchased Ledger in 2020 in my preparation for the big O moon thing going on. And I am actually receiving some of these emails and text messages that is very weird, and it appears to be very fishy. So I haven't done anything, but I wanted to actually start looking into it and saying, wait a minute, what's going on? So let's continue reading, and I think you need to understand that while this article here is talking about the fact that only those that had it like from prior to June 2019 are getting emailed and text message. That is incorrect. People that have actually might have purchased it even in 2020 after the hack are also getting the messages that look exactly the same as some of the folks who got scammed. So you absolutely got to be careful with this stuff. On July 29th, 2020, the French Bitcoin hardware wallet manufacturer explained that hacker compromised about 1 million customer email addresses. Now, of course, I don't know if they're saying, if this is inaccurate, that they're saying it got hacked in June of last year, meaning 2019, or it got hacked in June of 2020, which then makes absolutely more sense that they might not be having still access. It's just that it's incorrect information here. So I don't know what is wrong here, but you got to be absolutely careful about the whole thing. The company report also noted in bold letters that Ledger will never ask you for the 24 word of your recovery phrase, and you got to be very careful with it. And I would also not rely on any emails or text messages that are coming to you that are alleging anything whatsoever with Ledger. What I would recommend you do is you actually go to the Ledger website itself and look for things, or potentially make sure that you verify stuff over on the Twitter as well as some of the other verification, and kind of see what is happening before you do anything with this whole thing. As the time passed, customers have been getting phishing emails from hackers, and allegedly a few people have lost their precious cryptocurrencies. because they actually have come in, and I will tell you my personal experience of what they're doing. So they are sending a text message, is actually the first thing that I have received, saying that somebody is maliciously trying to, log in and take my crypto from Ledger. And I'm going, that doesn't make sense. For one, I actually haven't managed to put any crypto in my Ledger, so there's nothing there. Joke is on you. For two, it's a cold wallet storage, so I know where it's located. I know it's not on the website or connected to the net at all. So there's, how exactly are you accessing it? So I'm like, that just sounds really weird. Thankfully, I got that text message first, which sort of like sent a red flag out there into the universe to say something is off here and it doesn't make sense. Then they actually had sent an email saying that your wallet is deactivated because you haven't done KYC and you can't access any of your funds. You gotta go in here and do this. And I'm like, KYC? What? Like, you already have a bulk of my information about stuff because you had to mail stuff to me. So you have more information than most of the other folks have. But whatever, like, I'll look it up later on. Then I got another text message that was saying, hey, Trezor your is compromised. And I'm like, I don't have a Trezor. So, interesting piece. Now, here's where it gets interesting. This is getting bad. I'm getting threats through SMS with all personal info. Not good. Ledger hacker pretends to be Trezor. Received an email of some kind communication that tells the customer that their funds may be compromised and the scammers act like the official company. Check. I can verify that that is true, that they're doing that. Andreas Antonopoulos tweeted about the situation on Saturday and said that the hackers were also using Trezor's brand name as well. Quote, your Trezor using a 0 instead of an O wallet has been deactivated. You are required to pass verification due to the new KYC regulations. This is also being added, and I can verify that that is true. So, to be clear, this is a new phishing attack, seems to originate from the same database that was stolen from Ledger. The same fake name and number appears for me and me as well. So this is for both Andreas Antonopoulos and Nev speaking over here. It seems to be unrelated to Trezor other than the attacker using the name in their new phishing campaign. So you got to be super, super careful. What I would actually recommend, not that it's a financial advice or legal advice or any of that stuff, but what I would recommend is that you basically don't pay attention to any of the emails and text messages as well, because I think that it just can't be trusted. It just can't be trusted. So what I would again recommend you do is go to their official website, right, where you went and purchased that stuff. Go to their official website and check on the blogs and news to see if anything is being done there. Do not click on any links in the email. I don't even care if it's a real company. I mean, obviously you can check the address and stuff, and if you feel like, all right, this is much more real than not. But the weird part is because so many companies are using third-party texting services, you don't know when you receive a text if it was, the ledger itself that texted you or the scamster that texted you. So personally, that's just me. I wouldn't touch the messaging stuff with the 10-foot pole. Like the links and stuff, I wouldn't touch it at all because you don't know if there's malicious hardware that is going to upload on your phone and stuff that could compromise your passwords, that could compromise your other accounts or anything like that. So I wouldn't touch it with the 10-foot pole. So that's just me. It comes there, I ignore it, and play pretend that they got the wrong number, and we all move on. But it does definitely put in some worrisome stuff because I do really wish that Ledger would be much more transparent about stuff. I will tell you, they have not sent a single email about we have been hacked. And if they have, I definitely haven't received it. So hackers definitely have my email. Ledger may or may not, which makes me very, very worried about wanting to recommend the company or the product in the future. So there goes that, how simple things in life can destroy a brand. So hopefully we're all learning something from it. All right, we're going to switch to some exciting news, and then we're going to end with another hack that also has happened basically 2 days ago. And it's important for us to understand how that all happened, and it has to do with Nexo. So stay tuned for that. All right, so let's take a look at what's going on with the news. Well, Malta. Malta is an island country off of the coast of Africa slash Europe, depending how you want to look at it. Excuse me. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. It was a British colony, so they drive on the wrong side of the street, as we like to say it here in the United States. Of course, they don't drive on the wrong side. They just don't drive on the same side that we do. But it's much more fun to say they drive on the wrong side of the street. But it's a beautiful place. I've been there. It's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous a country, and really recommend you go and visit once Corona stuff goes away. But what they wanted to do is they wanted to become a blockchain island. They wanted to welcome all these crypto companies and wanted to work with them. However, the banks are not willing to work with the crypto stuff. So now they're having problems. Traditional banks have written off blockchain in this early stage. And of course, the finance and employment minister, Clyde Caruana, is saying the banks must be convinced that this is something that can really happen. Unless banks are on board, it will be very difficult. Well, Mr. Finance and Employment Minister, you potentially have a central bank that could actually just make loans to these, companies as a whole, and you can bypass the banks. You do have an ability to write brand new rules and laws, and if you're really serious about it, you will find a way to do it, as opposed to only flirting with the traditional banking system on what they're doing and how they support stuff. So you have ability to do that for sure. Now, of course, one of the interesting things to also note is that the Malta's parliament passed the blockchain-friendly regulation in 2018 as part of his bid to emerge as a global hub to crypto and the decentralized ledger technology. And of course, some of the largest crypto exchanges by volume, of course, have kind of become home, or Malta has become home, OKX, Binance. However, the interesting piece is that the Financial Services Authority had not issued a single license to a single crypto firm, as even all the way up into the 2020. So 2 years have passed. Nobody has received a crypto license, interestingly enough. Of course, we did have some regulation or some resignations, and the new administration has come in. They publicly reconfirmed commitment to establish Malta as global crypto hub, and the progress is super slow, but Crypto.com has become the first company to receive licensing from Malta's local financial regulator on November 24th of 2020. So who knows, they might decide to actually move into the whole piece. I know that Cyprus also has become much more warm towards the crypto regulations and crypto businesses, and many different crypto companies have started to go in. The cool part is when you come to Larnaca, for example, or not Larnaca, I don't know how you pronounce it. There are many, signs. It's so cool. It's like entering like the Decentraland, but it's actually like real. It's not like augmented reality. And there's like Bitcoin signs and Ethereum signs, and it's so cool. If you are a crypto enthusiast, if you're not, you don't understand. You're like, whatever, it's just a business. But for me, it's like so amazing. You walk in and there's like flashing sign, like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. But the problem is the corona pandemic is actually causing some challenges on the island country. Now talking about Cyprus, not Malta. They are putting some barriers to entry because of the virus, right? So they're making it very, very challenging for folks to enter the country. And because of that, I think they're going to be losing some of the stuff. So I don't know how that's going to impact the crypto business on the island, but definitely it's going to impact the ability for international folks to enter the country and be able to do stuff. Now, we're going to go and fly across. I don't know, do you want to fly east or west? Whichever way, but we're going to China. China got exciting news, and it has to do with Bitcoin. As you can see, we're slowly but surely moving into the Bitcoin territory, which I promised I was going to do today. So, China actually is doing something very interesting. The Chinese state-run media, CCTV, has publicly acknowledged Bitcoin outshining gold. Chinese used to be very, very big on gold, and of course, I think they still are. But of course, now we're having the national television, which is being controlled by the country, so you might as well call it the government, which is using the public television, is saying, hey, we have a thing called Bitcoin, and it's better than gold. And of course, they are contributing huge volumes to the BTC trading. And of course, now when we are, we had some challenges with it, but now they're actually going and acknowledging that, hey, this is a huge thing, and we could potentially see more investors from China coming into the exchanges and providing additional liquidity for Bitcoin and, of course, for other crypto. Speaking of Bitcoin, well, the price is jumping over 19,700 in a current spike. And as you saw, we were approaching 19.9, which is really key. Now, when we hit 20,000, it's not if, it's more when, we might see, again, maybe a little bit of a down. But I think most of the folks who wanted to sell at that level have already sort of like been sold out. So we'll see how that turns out, and it could basically just go to the moon, and there's some bullish and bearish things that you should be aware as we get into this, start approaching the $50,000 and $100,000 level or more in 2021. So of course, what is going on? Well, it's definitely been an eventful year for Bitcoin. Bitcoin started the year at about 7,000. Then we dropped down to about 3,500, 600, 700, depending kind of what the exchange you're using, kind of how you look at that back in March when everything else crumbled. Since then, since that 3,700 component, we actually have come to that 10,000. We're trying to break over 11,000 for a while over the summer months, which we then did, and then we actually came all the way to 19,000, came in, hit the 19.5, hit 19.9, came crashing down back into the $17,800 level, and since then we've been kind of like, what's going to happen? Is it going to go down? And of course, since then we are now just a few $100, if that, away from the $20,000 level. And of course, you can see it right here on the chart. So what we're looking over here is the Bitcoin chart. We're looking at the weekly, and we're looking at what's been going on since about 2019. You will notice that I have a little bit of a zigzag thing going on, and I'm going to zoom out and kind of explain what is happening over here. So what this appears like to me, and I'm not, I'm not your full-fledged Wall Street trader, so I apologize for that. If you need one, find them fast if you want. But what this looks to me, it looks like Elliott Wave, which if you want to read more about it, please do. And there's some folks out on YouTube that do a great job explaining what this looks like. But if you pay attention, it typically goes in threes, right? 3 up, 3 down. So you have a 1, a 2, and a 3 is the most explosive one, right? And the 2 is higher than the 3, right? So you have kind of like, sort of sideways and then down, slightly more vertical and then down, and then really vertical, super high, super explosive. Then you go down in threes in a very similar manner. Explosive down 1, slightly up, then less as explosive, but it goes down again. That's a 2, slightly up, and then more of that sort of slower decline. That's a 3, reaches the bottom, and that's kind of how it goes. So if that's sort of how it all happens, when do you have a 1? Now this appears like a 2 and a 3, but that's really not it. What I think is happening is this is a 1. This, on what we're working on, is a 2. So if this is a 1, right? Now we're working on a 2, which should be coming somewhere, I don't know, around here. Then we should give it a 3 after that stuff, which, in my humble opinion, that means that we could potentially then hit the 50 to 100 some thousand that some of the analysts are calling for in the short time um, of 1 year. And we might potentially then come down a little bit, right? Into, I don't know, if we go and hit 100,000, we might come down to 70 or 80,000, maybe 60,000, and then have that huge explosive move into half a million plus. So that's kind of how I think it could play out. Again, I don't know if it's going to happen for sure, but it is something to pay attention to and to think about. So I don't have a crystal ball of how exactly this is going to play out, but I think it's important piece. Now, talking about sort of the prediction and stuff, we do have an analyst who accurately predicted brutal Bitcoin crash in 2018. Talk about where things might be heading, and we're of course talking about Peter Brandt. So he is basically saying, quote, I am fully long. He thinks Bitcoin has the potential to surge to 100,000 in this cycle. And he's also saying that there is a 50% chance it can go to zero in the long run. Now, why could it go to zero and become worthless? Well, he's saying that the future innovation may render Bitcoin obsolete because technology is always changing and something brand new happens. And of course, other things become outdated. Of course, he doesn't think that that's going to come in 2021 or 2022, and it's possible. Anything is possible, but typically the first mover that gets the most of the accumulation, that gets most of the market cap, typically doesn't actually end up moving as much into the sort of like being taken over. If that was to happen, I am thinking 10, 20, 30, 50 years from now, maybe 100 years from now. So, again, something to pay attention to. Right now, I personally don't think that we have any strong contenders whatsoever. There are many projects that I really like, don't get me wrong, but I don't think that we have any contenders to take over Bitcoin at the moment. So I don't think that there is another Bitcoin coming anytime soon, even though I'm bullish on some of the other projects. Some corporations sell their shoes online for Bitcoin. Some store Bitcoin in the corporate treasury. They have adopted Bitcoin. When you start looking at Fortune 500 annual reports, and there's a line item in their annual report where they're storing assets in Bitcoin rather than in interest-bearing treasury bonds, you know that we are starting a C acceptance, and it really can now be a medium exchange, a currency, a store of value, and we're starting to see all of that starting to happen in 2020, and it's only going to grow in 2021. So that is coming from Peter Brandt. Now, of course, for me, I look at that stuff, and we've been talking about what whole adoption of the not just family offices, which I don't think all of them are in it, but more of them are starting to come in. Not even we talked about the pension funds, the insurance, the small countries, the large countries, the mid-sized countries, but I think also corporations that are entering, we just don't know about it yet, because again, you don't signal before you go and do what you need to do. You do it first, then you signal, because you don't want to make moves while you are in a process of finalizing your deal. It just doesn't make sense. And of course, the sort of the art of war, if you would, strategy does not mandate for you to do that, nor should you be doing that. So people are doing things, we just don't know about them in public, and I think more and more companies are going to start coming in. When you put that in perspective and actually start thinking about it, this whole $50 to $100,000 move in 2021 could be completely obsolete. I mean, we could literally wake up on January something and hit 50,000 Bitcoin, no problem, without it actually going back down 90% or 80% and start going on up. Because if more and more companies start buying, and they start buying 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 40,000, like MicroStrategy of Bitcoin, there's not that much Bitcoin in. And of course, some of the early adopters and whales will go in and start selling. But I think some of the interesting game theory thing is going to roll out. And that is going to be that even some of the hodlers that are basically have bought it for a penny or a dollar, they might sell some, but not as much, because they're going and saying, wait a minute, all these people are coming in. Does it make sense for me to sell this at 100,000 or 250,000 per Bitcoin? Yes. I mean, I'm making some mad returns, but do I really want to do it? Am I going to be laughed at like the guy who actually transferred Bitcoin for pizza, making it the most expensive pizza on the planet? And I don't know if they're going to do that. Now, this is an interesting article also that is coming in, and this is actually conversation from Raoul Pal. Bitcoin is eating the world thanks to the 10-year return over 6.2 million percent in annualized return of roughly 200% per year. 6.2 million percent return on your investment. That's a huge return on your investment. Go ahead and calculate it. It's absolutely crazy, and we have some really interesting charts that I'm going to share with you and explain kind of what's happening. As noted by Charlie Bilello, I don't know, Bilello, I don't know, Charlie, the founder of Compound Capital Advisors, a Bitcoin investment made in 2011, has delivered returns of 6,271,233%. Nothing, absolutely nothing has matched it since. And the next best thing was NASDAQ at 512%. So NASDAQ returned 5x, which is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, right? Like, you were talking 9 years. So since 2011, okay, let's call it even 10 years, because 2021 is basically, I don't know, a hop and a skip away. So let's say 10 years, right? Like, let's round this puppy up. 5x in 10 years is actually a really nice return. That's not a bad return at all whatsoever. So that's quite beautiful. And then you have Bitcoin, which has 6.2 million percent. So that makes it 6.271 whatever thousand x, right? So take whatever amount of money. If you put in $1, you basically have 6,000 something. Right, it's a crazy thing. Like, my brain can't even comprehend it. And of course, they have this beautiful chart, and we can take a look at it right now. Let me see if I can zoom in just a little bit, or the table. I apologize, it's not even a chart. So you actually have Bitcoin, NASDAQ, large cap, small cap, US REITs, long duration treasuries, investment grade bonds, preferred stock, emerging market bonds in US dollar, high yield bonds, excuse me, EAFE stocks, US total bond market, TIPS, EM stocks, gold, US cash, and commodities. That's what's basically being listed. And what do we have? You have some years are more green than others. We have total of 3 years that are completely green: 2016, 2017, and 2018. Those are the completely green years for all of the markets across the board. Then we have some years that are predominantly on the green, but we have a couple, or sorry, just one or two negative things. And that's 2012. Cash was basically at zero, so that's the only red. So that could be another green year. We could put it there. And 2020, hello world, biggest depression under the sun. And we only have two things that are negative in the entire 2020. And that is US REITs are negative 6.8%, and commodities, which are negative 10.7%. This is absolutely crazy and insane. Then, of course, we have a few years that is sort of like a mixed bag of things. That's 2011, 2013, 2014, and 2015, with 13 and 15 being more on the negative side, and 11 and 14 being sort of like a mixed bag of things. And then we have 2018, which was, interestingly enough, the worst year across the board for everything except for one thing that is in the green, and that is US cash. That is the only thing that was positive at 1.7%. Everything else was either close to zero or negative. And then you take the cumulative piece of what has actually happened, of 2011 through 2020, and you have one thing, only one thing that is negative during this whole thing, and that is commodities. Commodities over that 9 year period are down 46.8%. So that's an interesting piece to pay attention to. And who knows? Maybe that lets us know the commodities, maybe they're in the long term bear cycle, and you should stay out of it, or commodities could be actually the only thing that could really outperform everything else, aside from, in my humble opinion, from Bitcoin. Of course, I still do believe real estate, but not necessarily REITs. And then annualized, we are talking on the sort of biggest gainers, biggest losers. Of course, the biggest gainer is Bitcoin. And so on the annualized rates, the commodities are down 6.1% per year, right? Year over year over the 9 years. And then we have Bitcoin, basically 203.5% annualized, like on average, return per year. Then you have what is the second one? That's NASDAQ 100 at 20% per year. Then you have in third place the large caps at 13%. So very interesting piece that we are seeing over here for sure. And this is a very interesting article that is kind of happening. Now, of course, it's also saying that whether it's dollar cost averaging or a one-time investment of $100 10 years ago, Bitcoin dwarfs other investments such as Apple or Amazon over the past decade. And of course, we do have a beautiful chart about that as well. And we're going to take a look into it. Ooh, no. So of course, here we go. We put in $100, right, like quite some time ago. In Alibaba, you're basically slightly over doubled your money. Not a bad move, but not as big of a move. In Walmart, you basically, your $100 turns into $300, not too bad. Facebook actually comes in a bit better at the same place with JP Morgan at about, what is that, $500, $550 level. Right? Then we have Microsoft. If you put in Microsoft, well, your $100 is now $1,000. Pretty good move. Much better if you put it there than Facebook or anything else. Then we have Visa. If you put in Visa, you are just shy of $2,000 for your 100,000. For your $100. Apple would have gained you basically just shy of 3,000. Amazon would bring you to about $3,500. So your $100 would give you $3,500, and $100 in Bitcoin would render you a whopping $9.2 million. That's right, folks. $9.2 million is what you would get if 10 years ago you put $100 into Bitcoin as opposed to anything else. I think when folks start reading that and researching that and looking at the charts and going, holy mackerel, $100 10 years ago, I could have $1 million or $9 million today. $100 for 10 years, hold it, and I could retire like really nicely, drop everything I'm doing, start a business, move to an island that I want to live on and enjoy my life? And the answer is yes. So as you can see, Bitcoin is eating the world, and that's sort of like a quote that Raul Paul is talking about, and it's similar to that, like tech is eating the world, that we've heard a few years back. I can't remember who exactly said it, but somebody really, really smart. So here we have another couple of smart guys saying the same thing. And of course, the $20,000 breakout will come, and who knows, y'all, it might even come today on December 16th. A few days ago, maybe a week ago, I said, we only have a limited time to buy Bitcoin below 20K, and now is the time to buy it, because once it kind of goes and breaks over that stuff, it's going to go on higher, and it's almost like Bitcoin gods are giving us a gift right now to say, hey, put it on right now. Everybody get ready for a ride, pay your ticket, get yourself in a seat, put your little thing on, hold on for life, and here we go. We're going to take off. Bitcoin staying below $20,000 longer, meanwhile, will only make its breakout harder. And I agree. The more the more time BTC spends below $20,000, and the lower the founding and the future basis prior approaches 20,000, the stronger the upward break once it comes, and it will absolutely come. Of course, another person also said, and I also agree with them, is that the sub $20,000 Bitcoin is a healthy thing. The more energy is coiling beneath it, making the more move beyond $20,000 that much more explosive. And I would also add, personally, this is Nav speaking, it is, of course, making it not just that much more explosive, but that much more sustainable. Because it's not just about it going to the moon and then come right back down crashing. What's the point in that? No. You want it to go up and actually hold on to the value. And it will be doing that stuff. So that is the exciting piece. Of course, when we look at what's going on with the fund managers, well, more and more of them are starting to go long Bitcoin and short US dollar. The Bank of America done a survey yet again, and they have placed the individuals who are overseeing about $534 billion in assets under management are saying that, hey, long Bitcoin is the third most crowded trade. It's fallen only behind the tech stocks and shorting the US dollar, but has climbed above traditional investments such as gold and bonds. And of course, right over here, we can actually take a look into this beautiful chart. Let's go in and take a look into that stuff. Let's make this a little bit smaller so we can actually see it. And here is what they're doing. So you will see right now. Ooh, I got to make this even smaller because we can't see it. All right, so you will see that we have long tech was the super big and super bullish one in November of 2020. In December, it's actually much smaller. So the bullish and the long-term tech is actually starting to shorten the amount of people that are betting on that horse. The US dollar actually didn't have much of anything, but now has a healthy number of individuals betting against the dollar. The long Bitcoin was a very, very small percentage, less than 5%. Now we're talking about 15% or so. So in December, they're starting to go in. Long corporate bonds, that has increased slightly. Gold actually has decreased, and it went from 7-ish% to maybe like 4% or so. Long emerging market stocks, that's the new one for December, and other stuff was only in November. There's nothing other that they're investing. So overwhelmingly, what they're doing is they're saying, I'm going to go long tech, I'm going to go short US dollar, and I'm going to go long Bitcoin, and then maybe I'm going to do some long corporate bonds, and maybe a little bit of gold, maybe a little bit of emerging market. This is an interesting move and an interesting change of pace. And what I think is going to happen honestly, is I think that we are going to see more of them shorting the dollar, more of them going long on Bitcoin, less of them going on to the bonds. And I think that potentially, maybe, we'll see how it rolls out, that some of the stocks also might start losing some momentum. I could be wrong in that, because I've been thinking that people are going to be stop being crazy overvalued stocks. But clearly I am wrong, because they are still doing it. So don't listen to me on that one at all. Of course, we are hearing that fund managers are underweight in cash for the first time since 2013. after buying a disproportionate amount of stocks, commodities, and other assets. And why are they doing that? Because these assets are actually going up in price in a big way. In December 2017, Bitcoin topped the survey's list of most crowded sale trades. My gosh, clearly I need to drink some coffee, water, something. Hold on. Let's try this again. On December 2017, Bitcoin topped the survey's list of most crowded trades, with 32% of respondents naming Bitcoin as the most crowded trade. And of course, this was named for the first time in 2017 edition of the survey, and it received 26% of respondents voted most crowded trade. On August 18, 2020, Bitcoin surpassed Bank of America's in market cap size for the first time, and now it exceeds Bank of America's metric by 45%. This is actually incredibly bullish. But of course, there are things that you should watch out. There are things that could turn this bullish into the bearish. And of course, what could do this? Well, one of the things is that many early investors could pull the trigger and sell once we reach a price that is high enough for them to sell. We'll see. We just talked about that stuff. Also, Bitcoin is not immune to the overall crash of everything. If we see a meltdown in everything, we could see a Bitcoin meltdown as well. But I do personally expect that is going to be very short term and provide us with a potential good buying opportunity. Not a financial advice, just the way that I think about it and process it, especially now in the bull market. And of course, the final piece is the potential sales from investors who are expected to receive Bitcoin from Mt. Gox. There's some news coming in that 160,000 Bitcoin that are being locked up about, in the Mt. Gox scenario could potentially hit the markets and potentially sell. And if that happens, some people might decide to sell it, but I don't know. They might not. They might decide to just hodl and say, whoo, I know it was locked up and stuff. I'm putting this puppy into some safe place and I'm going to hodl it because the prices could go up. As for the altcoin market, this particular analyst is saying that in the next bear phrase, he's expecting alts to lose a bigger share of the capitalization yet, and he doesn't believe that alts are going to do much of anything. I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, yes, I think in the bear market, things are going to be lost across the board everywhere, unless you're shorting it, right? At which point you're making money, but capitalization still goes down. So, but I do think that all of it, the entire market is going to pump, and not just Bitcoin, even though today we did focus quite a bit on Bitcoin. So, final news of the day, which is the biggest news, or I don't know that it's biggest news, but it's very important news that I promised that we would do, and it has to do with another hack, and it has to do with Nexo and DeFi. So DeFi protocol founder is tricked and hacked for over $8 million worth in personal funds. Nexus Mutual founder and chief executive officer Hugh Karp's personal wallet address has been hacked for more than $8 million. The attacker, which is a member of the Nexus DeFi protocol, shame, gotta be very careful, y'all, tricked Karp into signing a transaction that transferred funds to the hacker's own address. What happened is that the hacker gained remote access to Karp's personal computer and modified his MetaMask extension. Ouch. Then what he did is he took out some 370,000 Nexus Mutual NXM tokens worth about 8.25 million out from the wallet on Monday. So this happened a couple days ago. This happened in the morning of December 14 and was targeted personally attack on Hugh. Now, Hugh Karp also described the attack as a very nice trick and definitely the next level stuff. He did say, quotes, "You'll have trouble cashing out that much NXM. If you return the NXM in full, we will drop all investigations and I will grant you a $300,000 bounty." Nexus Mutual is unaffected by the hack, nor are any member victims for this scam. As you saw, it did pump really nicely over the last 24 hours. The protocol did say that the hacker completed their Know Your Customer process 11 days ago, then switched membership to a new address on December 3rd, and there is an investigation that is ongoing to identify the attacker. funds are being held at this address, and the attacker has already started exchanging some via 1-inch exchange. And of course, they gave us the address. Of course, I couldn't help myself but to click on it, and there you go, Nexus Mutual Hacker. So you see how everything else has a nice address. Well, they decided they were going to brand this particular individual, and here we can actually see that they are going in. Let me see if I can make this even smaller so that you can see the whole thing. I know there's not a whole lot happening, but you see that they have it, and you can definitely see what they're doing and what they have been trading and where. So definitely something to pay attention to. They are working with an investigation. In my personal opinion, whoever did this, they might have a short-term gain, long-term pain, because know your customer. As pain in the butt as it might be, this is one of the cool things that is going to save Nexus and likely catch this person or persons, because if they actually have gone out and completed this process, well, that much easier to catch them. So let me know how you think, let me know how you feel, but do be very, very careful out there in the marketplace when it comes to everything and anything. As you can see, the hackers are getting much more sophisticated, and we must keep track with all of that stuff and keep pace with them. So thank you for watching, thank you for listening. Until next time, stay forever money blessed. We may or may not be going tomorrow because we're expecting this giant storm, so I might be without internet or power. We'll see how it goes. So if we don't go live tomorrow, my apologies, you know why. But hopefully we will go live tomorrow. Until then, stay forever money blessed, and remember, you are only one deal